and just, have that be the main thing that takes up the majority of the time for Sharc, I'll be in an even better place, and I can travel more and do more of the things that I want to do with the family. I don't have to conquer the whole entire world like you, Elena. I don't need to do that. We're rolling.
We're rolling on the next episode of Inside Copy and Art, the podcast. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, you won't get to see. Go to YouTube and check us out. But I have a fun guest. He's going to intro himself, tell me a little bit about himself. But first, he's going to have a shot with me.
I thought I was waiting until tonight for this. This is amazing.
No.
Right in the middle of the day.
And this is not a shot for the record. Whoever this, I don't
That's
know.
Right.
Yeah, one of my team members poured that. I don't know if I can take this down the hatch.
Breaking ground.
Oh, wow. I was able to do it. Imagine that. Are you surprised?
Wow. I'm a little surprised. All
right. Well, here we go. We're here with Andrew Castellano. Did I say that right?
You absolutely did.
Okay, because I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Nope.
That's not nice. And he's the president and COO at Sharc Creative. Sharc Creative is a friend of Copy and Arts. You're just a great guy. You have a great energy. I think I couldn't wait to have you on the podcast. You were at the ribbon cutting.
Wow. Elena, first of all, I really do appreciate it. I am flattered. Honestly, I'm flattered. I know some of the other guests that you've had on your show, and here I am. So, I made it through the door somehow. But I'm flattered. I'm honored. You're doing wonderful things here. I was lucky enough to be invited to your ribbon cutting party.
What'd you think?
It was tremendous. Energy in the room, top notch. Obviously, you've got something going right here. It does look like a little bit of Manhattan has somehow made its way into White Plains, yes. And I think that's what you were after that. And
sure.
You really did it. And I know you have an interesting story yourself, and it's taken some time, and here you are.
Well, yeah.
Living
Good
a
news
dream.
is though nobody's here to hear about me. Nobody. They hear about me. They're here to hear about you, which is super cool.
Well, again, I'm honored and flattered, and I hope I can provide some value for you.
This is always the goal of Copy and Art, and today is no different. I think one of my favorite aspects of Andrew and Sharc is, there are a number of them. First, you have creative in your name, and I think that's one of the tenets to Copy and Art and kind of who I am as a human. But you're a good person, like you're fun, you have a great energy, and you're committed to Westchester as we are here. And so I think there's so many synergies that I'm kind of eager to uncover between kind of your business and your commitment, your history. So why don't we start here? Why don't you tell us about your role at Sharc and how it came to be? What is the story that brought you to sitting where you're sitting today?
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity to share. At the end of the day, it's an entrepreneurial spirit that I suppose I've always had. And Sharc has allowed me that opportunity to kind of bring that to the surface. And so I made a career in local radio. That's really where I started. I started out at WFAS, which is 103.9 and 1230 on the dial back in 1996. And for a good 18 years, I was working for the radio station. And my role.
You totally have a radio voice.
But I'm really not a radio guy. I'm not an on-air personality. I didn't go to school for that.
Right.
That's not what my intention was. It was more on the marketing and sales side. So I was a street fighter. I was out in the street creating relationships is really what I was doing when I worked for WFAS. But to answer your question, my job was to be on sales and marketing and bring in advertisers for the radio station. And I loved it. I really did. It was a great chance for me to go out and meet people and be excited about radio. And back then, times have changed a little bit with how people listen to radio. They're listening to podcasts.
Or completely.
Right. But it's still there. And I'm still an ambassador for radio, for terrestrial radio, probably because I have a warm spot in my heart for it.
Sure.
But while I was there, a lot of my clients would say, "Hey, Andrew, can you take this radio commercial and put it on my phone?" And they didn't really know how to do it. They didn't know who to contact about that. Back then it was cassette players, so we're really kind of dating myself. But
I know.
But it was a cassette, right?
Yes.
Then it became a CD.
Sure.
Then it became an MP3 player. Fast forward to today, you really hardly even need the MP3 players. It's all voice over IP phones, so
Right.
you're sending in a file. So I brought in a few clients, and there was a toy store in Mamaroneck that's still there today. It was the first person who asked me if I can have this done. So I went back to the studio, talked to the creative services director there. He wrote and produced the whole message. And when I went back to the client, I realized he really liked it, and he wanted to change it over and over and over. So I realized that this was a business.
Yeah, there's a business
model.
There's something here.
He's willing to pay for it.
Sure.
And lo and behold, so was a car dealer, and so was a spa, and so was a tile and home collections facility. So now I'm gathering my thoughts. I'm like, wow, I'm solving a problem for these businesses, and it means something to them.
So let me stop you there, because we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Tell me a little bit about some of, like, what does Sharc Creative mean, and what do you do in your business? How do you serve?
Yeah.
Because I know that's a great.
Yes,
no,
yeah.
because if we don't know like what you do today, it's like the connections there.
Sure.
Which is cool.
What we do is we help with customer engagement with our audio solutions. That's what we do. We're helping our clients reach their customers with engaging solutions like on-hold messaging, overhead music, which we can get into a little bit, licensed music that you hear when you walk into workspaces.
Right.
We also help them with a variety of other podcasts and production that we do in-house.
Right.
So that's really what we're doing. Sharc Creative is a production company, and we help people engage their clients, and we like to think that we do a nice job of that and hold their hand through it. And at the end of the day, we're providing a solution that works for them 365 days a year, all year in and year out.
So you know that part of the objective that every person here has, including myself, is we love to add value to the audience. Now, there's going to be a specific value that you can add that I can't add, because you do what you do at Sharc every day. So why don't we tell our listeners a couple of tidbits that you've learned over the years that help you serve your clients in the kind of best way possible, like the value of listening to something over the phone, or what's the time, or how does a marketer win when they kind of choose these solutions?
Very good question. Well, first of all, people spend a lot of money advertising to get people to call, right? Or somehow get in touch with them.
Right.
And that's all well and good, and we need to do that. But once somebody actually does find your business, you really have to engage them. I mean, they're the ones that are at the bottom of that funnel.
Right.
So if they're right there in front of you, whether it's they're on their phone or whether they're in the workspace, why not engage them? Why not tell them your story? Why not tell them about the benefits that you have to offer? Why not tell them about how you can improve their life with whatever it is, the products or services that you're providing? So that's really what we're doing for them. And for those that are listening, if you have a business, I'm curious to know what's playing right now. If I were to call you and you put me on hold, am I going to hear nothing?
Right.
If I hear nothing, I might hang up the phone. If I'm on a cell phone, I can't even tell. So you might lose the call. But you also might have some canned music that comes with a lot of these phone systems. And quite frankly, we're thrilled that that's out there, because that's something that we can easily replace.
Right.
So if I call a business up and they get put on hold, and you hear, I like to refer to it as like good humor music sometimes, or like, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about? There's these really
I think if you call Copy and Art, Sharc Creative's work is
well,
there
we're
at
on.
play.
That's right. You are a client,
Yes,
and so
yes.
and I certainly want to thank you for that. And so but prior to that, it could have just been a music bed, and it might have been a nice music bed, classical music or whatever. But we're replacing that with something that's gonna help your business.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I would go as far as to say it's a missed opportunity if they don't, right? Because if you've gotten a lead all the way down the funnel to a point where they're picking up the phone, whether a mobile or a landline, and actually dialing your business, it's a missed opportunity.
Don't lose them.
Right.
Because guess what? They may very well be on the web and there's another advertiser that does what you do, or someone else advertising the same thing you do right there in front of them. So they might just call somebody else. So if they don't have a good experience and they're not getting that information at the very least, you might lose them, and then they go somewhere else. And I don't have all the studies off the top of my head, but I know for sure, and there's a lot of other folks that do what I do. I belong to the on-hold messaging.
They're not on my podcast, so I don't care.
But I belong to an association that has like-minded folks that do what I do, and we talk about how, this is something that it's an untapped resource that
it's a missed opportunity.
They just
for most.
don't know about it. So it's a great way for people to reach their client base, prospects or current clients. Either way, if they're making that phone call, remind them. You might even have a client that's on the phone, but do they know that you do A, B, and C? They might have no idea.
They hire you for social. Yeah, they don't even know you do SEO.
Right. They don't know you have a podcast, or they don't know, So this is a way to get them to feel differently about the business and learn more about you.
And use the most of the time that you have their ear. Because that's the thing. It's like we master the time that we have our clients or prospects' eyes and ears. It's like, how do you create that engagement?
And Elena, think about it. Exactly what you said.
Yes.
Their ear is on that phone.
No,
so it is going right
literally.
in, right? And it's hitting the brain. And there's so many missed opportunities if you're not allowing that to happen.
Well, that's part of the reason why I think you're such a great guest today, Andrew, because part of what we like to do is tap into really we say inside copy and art because you're inside our home and, a
beautiful home, I might add.
Thank you so much. But what the real intention is, like, inside of some of these important marketing, in our case, marketing tactics, strategies that people might, they're so like hell bent on. And listen, we sell social, we love social. It is the way, but there's so many other avenues to hit a market, a prospect, a lead that maybe people aren't thinking about. All right. So let's say somebody's interested in your field. How do you go about that? How did your past lead you to where you are today, other than the radio side?
Well, I think, again, if I tap into the entrepreneur, we probably share that a bit, right? When I was going to college, one of the first things I did for myself was I started a little sealing business. I called it College Sealers. And I painted driveways, for lack of a better term. That's what I did. But the reason why I bring it up is I learned at a very early age that if you take something upon yourself and you go out and go after it, you have the control over maybe, a desirable income or what have you. I think I was making $5 an hour at a flower shop, but yet I went out and knocked on doors, met the individuals who own the home and noticed that they needed their driveway sealed. And so I said, sure, I can do this for you. I go down to Pergaments. I bought an $11 drum, 5-gallon drum of College Sealer, or the coating, and then I would charge $50 for every drum that I put down, so I could make $150 in a couple of hours time. It's a lot more than $5 an hour. So I bring it up only because that's when I realized, wow, I can control my own destiny by doing my own business.
Sure.
And so the entrepreneur in me is what allowed me to think about opening up my own business for myself. And that stayed with me all through these years. And very well, you have to continuously innovate and change. We're always moving forward. And so through the years, we have developed into not just on-hold messaging, but some other solutions too that engage the customer.
I think it was Peter Drucker, but don't quote me on it, that said business can be boiled down to two things: innovation and marketing. And I think that's pretty true. I think people don't like that, but the reality is that we should be always managing two businesses for our clients and for ourselves if we're entrepreneurs, the one that we're in and the one that we're sure to be in if we last and don't die like the dinosaurs. So I think your message around innovation is super important.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add on that? Like, where do you see things going for Sharc? Where do you see things? We're going to talk about the future and your dreams, but where do you see your industry going in the future?
Well, the industry has changed dramatically in terms of how the product is served, right? We talked about cassettes, CDs, MP3s to now, just the files. But we're in the production business and we're copywriting and end up mixing the messaging for them. So it wasn't always about the actual product. I feel bad for the companies that made those units because they may not be in business any longer. Right. But people still need somebody to come up with the actual thoughts and ideas that they can put on the phone. But what I also wanted to mention when you say, what else are we doing? Where are we going with it? Can I talk a little bit about the overhead music? Because
Absolutely. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. So just so the audience knows, not only do we help engage the customer on the phone, but what if you walk into a retail space? If you walk into a doctor's office, a dentist office, or a hospital, or a car dealership, chances are you could be in that showroom or that lobby for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. So you might hear some music, you might not hear anything. But what we provide is licensed music for the retail space, and we call it Retail Radio by Sharc. We provide the licensed music, but additionally, we provide a customized solution for that customer. So if it's a doctor's office and you're sitting there waiting for the doctor to see you, you're going to hear every 12 minutes, you're listening to Dr. Rosen Radio, right?
Yeah.
And so now you get a little brand message from Dr. Rosen with a statement of some sort. And then we program the station for every 20 minutes, so 3 times an hour, to run a spot about teeth whitening or about
Botox,
whatever the solutions are, right?
Right.
So when we have a package where when we put it in, it comes with 15 branded messages and 12 commercials. And the reason why that model works well is that takes 3 to 4 hours
to
cycle through. So you have your morning crowd will hear this, and then they won't hear any repetitive messaging. And then the people that come in the afternoon, they'll hear it again. The employees will hear it a few times during the day.
Right.
They may not love that, but at the end of the day, again, it's engaging the customer. And I can't stress that enough because, again, people put a lot of effort and resources into the space they build.
Right.
And now you have a captivated audience that's there. Oh my God, you have a great chance to remind them over and over about what you do. And not, in a very subtle way. Let's face it. Nobody wants to hear messages constantly, but the music's going to be there to carry them through, which, by the way, we can procure any station that they want. If they want easy listening in the morning, and then they want 80s music in the afternoon, and maybe they want classic rock, in the evening.
You can mix it up for them.
Yeah. So our production staff has the ability to customize the station on a daily basis any way they want, and then have these messages running. And of course, the messages will run throughout the year. Every month, it could be updated to something new and exciting.
That's cool.
So it keeps it fresh. I was just my son had a birthday party that he went to on Sunday. There's this, it's called Thrills. It's like a jumping.
Oh yeah.
It's an indoor theme park. Yes.
Been there.
So I'm sitting there and I'm, watching my son have a ball, and I hear the music, and the music's really loud, and it's energetic, and it's powerful, and it sounds great, by the way. But it was just the music the whole way through. And I just happened to be lucky enough to ask somebody up front if the owners were available, and sure enough, the owner was
You
right.
made the sale.
The owner was right there.
You made the sale.
The owner was right there, right?
Right.
So I introduced myself. I told her, first of all, her guard was up because she's like, she thought I was about to complain about something. I get the feeling there's a lot of complaining that happens.
Yeah.
And this happens in any business.
Yeah, sure.
But I said, no. First of all, I just want to tell you, I think this is an amazing space. I love it.
Yeah.
And my son is having the best time. He's just enjoying it. He wants to stick around for a while. And then I got into a little bit about what we do. I said, I just want you to know I might be able to provide some value for you here in the space because of what I'm hearing. I don't hear anything about the other, because it's kind of attached to another business that they bought. Mm-hmm. It started out as Bounce, and now it's called Jumps.
Yep.
But this one is Thrills. So there's 2 spaces essentially. So I was able to get her to understand that here's a great way where you could have messaging throughout the entire experience and remind people about birthday parties. Book your birthday parties or book your whatever. Point of the story is, audience, it's just another way for us to showcase how we really truly engage the client's client and make it a better experience for them so that they know more about what they can take advantage of while they're there.
I think the other lesson is also for entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, you're on your weekend time. And I think people these days, not generalizing who, just saying, I think they want to compartmentalize work so much that they want to have their work time, their play time, and their social time, and my daytime. And they don't want anything intermixing. And when you're an entrepreneur, you have to make the decision that you need to be fluid with your time.
Absolutely.
And if you see an opportunity at your son's friend's birthday party or whatever, it would... Everybody loses if you're not bold enough and courageous enough to take that step.
You're absolutely right. And you know, there is a time and a place for everything, but I love what I do. And I feel like in this case, I might have been able to solve a problem, which turns out I think we're going to. She brought me into the back room with her husband and they talked about how they have music in their Philadelphia location. They don't like that the employees are putting music on that
they get to choose.
That's not approved. He said, oh my God, he goes, this could solve our problem.
100%.
So we're going to solve a problem and at the same time provide the value. But yeah, as an entrepreneur, you know, you have to always be thinking of how are you going to make it?
Right.
How are you going to survive? And if it's not in you, if that's not kind of driving you all along, it'll be really hard for you to stay in business. I mean, you know, you have to think about different ways to, you know, get your message out and innovate. But that was like, I didn't go there with that intention, but it just seemed like, wow,
there was an opportunity that was presented before you were courageous enough to take it. I think that that's, you know.
And who knows, you know, I have definitely engaged them. It seems like they're super excited to talk more about it.
We'll see.
It's a franchise. You know, and they, you know, they only have a few locations, but they
it's
could
nice.
be opening more.
It feels
great
like a
people
really
too.
nice connection.
Really nice people, a family-run business, husband and wife. They live in a neighboring town. I'm on the board of the Wilton Little League. I told them about the Little League. I said, you should sponsor a team. We can get the kids to come here. It was a great, it was a great entrepreneurial kind of 20-minute session, you know.
Well, it's funny, you know, sometimes people who know where I came from on the copywriting side, and most ad agencies aren't run or started by copywriters, they're started by account people who have the client, you know, the client engagements, the client relationships. They'll say, like, how do you feel about the fact that now you're in what they'll call a sales position? And I'll say, you know, it's interesting because the way that you approach everything really matters. So for instance, I don't typically talk to people who aren't going to spend money on marketing, right? About business, right? Unless I'm trying to help them in some way. But for the most part, if I'm talking to a prospect, they're spending money on marketing. So when I talk to them about copy and art, I know they're going to spend money. I don't consider it selling. I know that for the money they're going to spend, the value we can deliver, they're going to win.
Right.
So it's
and
not
you feel strongly about that. You're very passionate
I know it in
about
my soul.
Yeah, exactly.
So I make it my business to know what the competitive set is bringing to the market and how we can just do that exponentially better. It's really not rocket science. Just look at what everybody's doing and be better. It's pretty simple. But when you know you're doing that work, I don't feel like it's selling, right? But
you're almost doing them a service, right?
That's the way.
You're doing them a service. I feel that way too. When I if I go into a call session or something, I get, you know, and look, every day is not the same. Sometimes you have to go with when the mojo's there. But when it is, I really feel like I'm here to help you. Like I really think that if you listen, I got a chance to really make a difference in your business. Because right now, in again, it's not rocket science. I'm not saving lives, but I am able to help a business make a difference with the business that they must love and care so much about.
Right.
And for a while there, what I'm doing is I'm injecting myself into that so that I can show them that I can help you, and I'm going to love doing it. So why wouldn't you want that?
I agree.
You know?
And I think that that's a perfect way to kind of sum up what I think is special and different about you and Sharc Creative. I want to know how, like, what is your life like personally? Tell me about yourself more kind of outside of the business, your family life, kind of what gives you the fight and the passion that you bring to work. It's starting somewhere. So tell me a little bit about yourself that way.
Well, look, there's no doubt that I'm fortunate enough that I love what I do for work, and certainly I love the color orange, and I love Sharc, and I love what we do, and I love being in the community, and I love helping people, and I love everything that we represent out in the community with the business. But at the end of the day, there's really nothing more important than my family. It's always been the case, even as just a young person. My mom and dad, and they're both here and healthy, thank God, and a brother and a sister, and cousins and all. Really, family. Family's always been at the top, and I give my parents credit for that, for making sure that was always the case. And now, I have my own family, and my wife and 2 kids. And thank you for asking. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they are the absolute, light of my life. And
boy, girl,
a girl. My daughter Dana is 12, and my son Andrew is 10. And we're in the thick of a lot of different things. With the pre-teenage thing is one thing, and I was mentioning earlier, my son, he's very active, so there's a lot of sports involved, and I'm heavily involved with the Little League and on the board, and I run sponsorships. Go figure. So I'm bringing the sponsorships in, and I coach the rec team, and it's a great group of people, and it's a great way to engage the community. But that is really what, Elena, that is what drives me. It's knowing that I want to be able to provide for the family. I want to be able to, offer them, more than maybe I was even offered, or whatever it is. Yeah. You just want to be able to do for them. But that's you got to get out there and make it happen in order to do it.
Sure.
What's really special, and if you don't mind my sharing, is I grew up in Portchester, and my wife actually grew up in Portchester also. She lived like I can hit a golf ball off the back of my yard and into her front yard. It was a couple streets over. And her older brother, John, was a very good friend of mine, a childhood friend. So we played sports together, went to high school together. We played baseball, we wrestled. And he was truly one of the most gregarious people I've ever met. Just a great guy, talented at just about everything, very smart. Went on to Colgate, played football and baseball there.
Wow.
Had kids very young, and unfortunately he had a bad accident and ended up 5 years later. He had been paralyzed, and 5 years later he passed away. This is 24 years ago.
Wow.
And the reason why I'm even bringing this up is because I have been given some amazing gifts in life, and a lot of it has to do with this story, because when John passed away, his cousin and I started a golf outing in his name. We still have it to this day. It'll be the 24th year this year.
Wow.
And we raised money for Portchester High School, for a student to go to college, and so on and so forth. But having that tournament year in and year out brought a lot of people together. And John's younger sister, who's 10 years younger than me, so when I was 13, she was only 3. So when she was in, the couple streets over, it wasn't like I was hanging out with her, right?
No.
But she, over time would start coming to the tournament, and obviously, I got to know her as an adult. John's oldest son ended up in the state championship for wrestling down in Texas, so I went down to go see him, because John had asked me many years ago when he was paralyzed, make sure you look after John and Zach, wrestling, help them with that. So it was always in my mind to go and how could I not go see this kid in this state championship? And Jill went too. And that's when things kind of happened, right? And we don't have to get into all the details for the audience, but that is if you give me another shot, maybe. but
So how long have you been with Jill?
So Jill and I are married for 14 years. So this happened, 15, 16 years ago.
Right.
And the reason why I bring it up is, as a result of the tournament and everything else, now, my good buddy is the uncle to my children, right?
Sure.
And so that's a strong foundation. It's something my wife and I are, we're always reminding each other of how powerful that is. And it means an awful lot. Call it divine intervention. Call it what you want.
I like it.
We have faith. It is what it is.
Yep.
And I'm really, it's a silver lining, of course, because John's not with us.
Right.
But it is absolutely, I mean, my life has changed as a result of that.
Right.
I have, these beautiful kids as a result of being connected to Jill, which was connected to him.
Right.
And so that's what motivates me. I think knowing that I have that story and that I almost like an obligation, if you will, to make sure that my children are, going to be good, solid citizens and just provide them with whatever I can.
Right.
And look, it's not perfect. Life is messy. It's
Sure.
it is what it is. But we do the best that we can. I try to lead by example. I try to model for them. And we talked earlier about you went for your run. I went for my run. They see me in the morning, get up and do the exercising.
And do the best you can.
And then they hear me on the phone if I'm making phone calls, and they are a part of it. Like, I don't hide any of that from them. I want them to see, that, and again, I have a long way to go. I do not have all the answers. It's not as if what I've done is the end all be all. I'm still in it, but it's the process, right?
Right.
It's the process that's important. The goals are nice to have, but you really need to enjoy the process. And if you have the process down, that's what makes life special, because you're doing it day in and day out. And that is something that I've learned in the last few years.
Right.
I think really more than anything is to have your process and
your passion
and tied to your standards.
I think recently I posted on my professional Instagram this little snippet of Steve Jobs talking about how people they should love what they do, right? And how that message is a little lost today. But he says the reason is not so that employers win. It's because life is hard and work is hard. Mm-hmm. And normal people, like if you're an entrepreneur, they give up if they don't love it, right? And so I think all of these things, like your love of what you do and of course of your family, I think that's one of the motivating factors. I don't know if I have 3 kids, mm-hmm. and I'm obviously a woman, and there's a little bit of a difference, but I often have to answer to the whole, you're a mom and you're an entrepreneur and an ambitious one at that. Like, how do you navigate that mm-hmm. question? And I say to people, it's interesting. I guess every person is different. Every woman is different. When I had my children, I guess I was always ambitious, but that was fired up in me. It wasn't, and I know plenty of very, very smart, beautiful women who actually felt the exact opposite. They had their baby and they were like, hell, if I ever work again, and fine. Like, that was where their body and their mm-hmm. soul took them. And I looked at my children, I was like, wait, I have all these dreams for them. Our family doesn't have a money tree in the backyard. Mm-hmm. There are all these things I want to do, all this travel, all these things I want to see. I better get to work. Mm-hmm. That's like the story I told myself. Yeah, sure. And so I know that's a motivating
factor. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I could relate to that. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
It has to be.
Except, not being a woman.
Yeah. No, I got that part.
But it's, it is. There's no doubt about it. And, again, it's working. And, you talked about, people, they might have a goal, and if they don't always necessarily get there because they give up too soon, they give up too quick.
Usually
right. You don't get the result right away. You don't get the result. How many times are you 3 feet from gold?
But they don't know it.
They don't know it. It's the piñata effect, right?
It is.
You hit
You're
the piñata.
Slam it
you hit the piñata.
You see nothing.
You hit the piñata. You keep hitting it.
Yeah.
It doesn't go down. But eventually, that 17th or 18th strike, and that's the one that breaks it through. Candy. But it wasn't just the one, it was all of
the compounding.
The compounding effect. And so that's something that I try to instill in my children, as often as I can, just saying, you're not going to get there overnight. It doesn't happen right away.
Take time.
You've got to stay dedicated. So don't make it too hard. Make it easy. Make it easy to do
the next step,
the push-ups or the whatever it is. Make it easy so that you get in a good habit of doing it every day. So for our listeners who are budding entrepreneurs, it's not that you're going to make $1 gazillion and go after all that right away. Think about what you have to do to get there, and think about that process.
The micro steps.
Right. And
right.
You want to close, 100 accounts this year. Well, you're not going to do it all in one shot.
Right.
But break it down to the week, the day,
right,
the hour, and just if you get committed to that process and you start enjoying what you have to do that, and you get these little feelings of accomplishment along the way, the other stuff will work out. Plus, and I'm learning this, the goals change. It may not actually be the goal right. It could be
as you get closer,
it could be a higher goal,
right.
or maybe you don't hit that goal. But if you, and there's plenty of goals that I have not hit, but I think about some of the good habits that I think that I've established as a result, and I'm good with that, because I know that ultimately, if I stay with that, it's going to get me
to the goal. Have you read Atomic Habits?
That's exactly what.
Okay, because I'm like, you're talking Atomic Habits.
That's Atomic Habits, and I do not claim to be the one that came up with all this, but certainly that book
is very helpful.
Very helpful.
I recommend it to anybody who will listen.
Atomic Habits is phenomenal. It's an easy read, and there's the Audible too, and that. I actually
read the book.
Read it. Yeah, read it.
Read the physical.
I actually have. I'm gonna kind of geek out on this. I actually have an app on my phone that has all my habits, and so when I do them, for me, it doesn't necessarily work for everybody, but for me, I get satisfaction out of crossing it off when I do it.
That's a neurological thing that we're programmed.
That's
we
right.
get dopamine hits on progress, not on achievement. That's why, like when I go to these personal development seminars, they'll say, you had a big goal. I remember when we hit our first $1 million in revenue. I remember my finance director calling me, and people calling me because I had been aiming at this goal for a number of years, and they were calling me, and I remember picking up the phone. I said, "Is everything okay?" And they were like, "You did it." And I was like, "What did I do?" They're like, "You hit $1 million in revenue." And I was like, "Yeah? Oh." So I was like, "Oh, that's great." Like, can I get back to work? Like, do you know how I was aiming at something for so many years, and then I hit it, and it was like, next.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah.
Because we're actually we get more satisfaction from the progress we make toward that's why people who are hopeless and don't feel great about their lives, if you actually took a minute to sit and talk to them, and you ask them a simple question like, what are you aiming at? Mm-hmm. What do you want? Mm-hmm. What are your goals? When they say, I don't have any, I don't know, that's part of why you feel helpless, because you need that thing to aim toward.
That's right.
But
you got to enjoy the way you get there.
Correct.
And the standards you're setting for it, and the actual process itself. And
yes.
it'll if you're doing that right, it'll end up working itself out, right? And you don't even realize you got to the $1 million. You didn't even realize it.
No.
Because you were just in the habit of doing it.
Right.
Because
I love to do.
It's make it easy, make it obvious, make it attractive, and make it satisfying.
Yes.
Right.
And then everything you don't want to do, you do the opposite for it.
Exactly. Right. So you want to lose weight. You know what? Put the shoes by your bed.
Make it easy. Go to sleep in your gym clothes.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Make it obvious. Make it right there. Make it attractive. Get the best shoe you like, or color that you like, whatever.
Right.
And then make it satisfying, so that when you finish it, you reward yourself. And guess what? There's that habit loop, and you keep doing it over and over. And all of a sudden, this becomes, you don't even have to think about it anymore. Which, by the way, is why this becomes so powerful, because you're not letting your brain think about the things you have to do. Your brain can think about other stuff.
Sure.
So now it becomes autopilot.
And it likes
these good habits.
The mistake I made that day I was getting those calls is that I didn't celebrate. Because in celebration is when we teach our brain to keep going. I didn't realize this was many years ago. We hit the first $1 million. So what I know today is I have plenty of goals. The minute I hit them, I mean, Jason Campbell from ENTA, right?
Yes.
He was here not too long ago. They just signed with us, and he was waiting, and he heard a pop of champagne. So he walks in, he's like, "Is that champagne?" I was like, "What do you think?" He's like, "It's definitely champagne." And he says, "What are we celebrating?" And I said, "Oh, we just won a new client." And he says, "Oh, did you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "So what do? You pop champagne?" I was like, "And we ring a bell." And so he's like, "That's awesome."
Yeah,
and when he sent the contract, he's like, "Ring the bell." Like, you have to celebrate.
Yeah, that's right.
Because actually what happens is there's actually a neural thing that happens. The dopamine hit, when you celebrate, it tells your brain, oh, do more of that. Mm-hmm. We like that feeling.
Thing, yeah.
We like that feeling. Mm-hmm. It's like, you make the joke, we took a shot, right? But you go to the gym in the morning, you come out of there, you feel like $1 million, but you look the same, but you feel like $1 million. Mm-hmm. Your body is saying, do more of that.
That's right.
Meanwhile, you go to the bar, you have too many of those, you wake up the next day, you feel like crap. Mm-hmm. Your body's going, maybe we do less of that, right? Your body will tell you.
That's right.
And your brain is no different.
Yeah.
So I want to move into something else. I want to move into what's next. So tell me, what do you have planned for Sharc? Personally, you can start wherever you want. Mm-hmm. I want to know what your dreams are and what you're aiming for.
Well, first of all, I think what's next is more of what we're doing. And the retail radio piece is a fairly new part of Sharc. So I'm super excited about that. And I feel like that's going to take up a big part of what we do going forward. Elena, it's like I'm a kid again. I'm going back to a lot of the same clients. I'm going into their stores because, by the way, for a few years you really couldn't even go in anymore. So thank God that's kind of hopefully over. But now I would go up and down Central Avenue and other places back in my radio days. So I'm conditioned to do that.
Yeah.
So I have no problem just pulling into the parking lot it's a little easier when it's a warmer one. Now, thank God today I have lots of warm opportunities. So go to my clients. So I pull in and I observe the space. And last week I went to like 4 or 5 places that I hadn't seen the people in a while, talked to them.
Sure.
But it was like, and guess what? They welcomed me. It was fine. And they even got to the point where they liked to hear what we had to say about it. And wow, we could actually do that. So to answer your question, I think
more of that.
For this year, it's going to be a lot more of that.
Okay.
We're going to do a lot more of the overhead thing. I want to get to anybody that I feel like we can help with that. Continue to get our message out about the hold. We already have our program lined up for the summer for the White Plains Hospital screenings Into the Stars, the Robeson Summer Concert Series.
2 friends of ours.
Yeah,
yes.
2 friends.
Awesome.
Wonderful, clients to work with. And the county still has to officially announce the dates. So we'll do that in the coming weeks. But it's exciting to know that that's on the horizon. And the end all be all is I wanna just be in a place where, as I keep working towards being, at peace with myself and everything, all aspects of my life. At the end of the day, that's really what I want. And I'd like to, be in a place where I don't have to be in the business as much, but be on the business.
Right, working on it.
The E-Myth, right? So,
yes.
so not there yet. I still do a lot of stuff in the business. When it comes to production and bookkeeping and stuff, that's out of my hands. Thank God. I don't want to have to be a part of that, really.
Right.
I know what's going on, but I don't have to touch it. I have great people that help me with that. But most of what we do is this recurring revenue model that seems to be pretty sticky. So if I can do more and more and more of that, and just have that be the main thing that takes up the majority of the time for Sharc, I'll be in an even better place, and I can travel more and do more of the things that I want to do with the family. I don't have to conquer the whole entire world like you, Elena. I don't need to do that. I do want to grow the business.
Good.
And just be in a place where I could just enjoy. We live here. We're here for a short period of time.
That's true.
And so I want to make the most. I want to make the most out of all of that, and that means being, with the kids as much as I can be before they decide to pull away. It means, and I was talking with Sherry before about, traveling with the baseball team, and I'm involved in all this stuff with the Little League, and it takes time. That's like another job, for crying out loud.
No, it's a lot.
Coaching and doing all the stuff, but for now, that's also what I'm in, and it's a short-lived period of time that I get to spend that time with my son.
I understand.
So I'm involved with that. But yeah, big picture, more of the same, but be more cognizant of being on it as opposed to being in it, and being in a place where we're helping lots of businesses with these solutions in particular that I've been talking about.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you say that, Andrew. Recently I was at a meeting with one of it was our accounting firm, and my kids don't typically FaceTime me during the day. If it's important, they'll text or something, and I'm getting FaceTimed by my son, and I'm like, so I'm in the meeting, and it was just nice. I was just like, I'm sorry, I have to take this. And so I accept the call, and it was my son letting me know that he got accepted to all of the high schools he had applied to and got a scholarship to Iona Prep. And he was so excited. And of course, everybody's in the room. And at this point, I'm an open book. Yeah. I mean, people who know me know. Like, I live my life, so there's no shame. Like, it is what it is. And I was pretty confident nothing my son would say to me would be embarrassing. But I was so proud of him. And it became obvious he's my oldest, how quickly this thing goes. Yeah. So I think you having this kind of priorities around the business, which are clear and sharp, but also recognizing the finite amount of time we have on this planet to be with our families and to engage with our children, if we have children, is so important. And so many people lose sight of that in their quest to, you know, you'll make jokes that I want to take over the world, and that is true. And I'm also a really kind of loving and active
You're
mom.
in the moment. You're in the moment. You're doing it. I know it.
That's all we can. That's all we can do is the best we can do. Yes. But I think you're right, and I think in some small way, hearing the scholarship, walking, you know, in that case, the halls of the school, and seeing him in this space, I was like, oh wow, this is where we're at, and like, it's powerful. Not only for the, you know, not for the business, for the human side of things. It's like, wow.
Not to mention how proud you must feel.
100%.
Right? I mean, so there's that too.
Of course.
And those are, you know, tapping into positive emotions, right? How good that is we have to experience all kinds of emotions, but to harbor those is a good thing.
Right.
And you're getting some of that out of that. So.
Right. And you know what Westchester has seen recently in terms of copy and art has been around our commitment to like making sure that people at work are happy. And I have a really, really strong commitment. There's some passion kind of projects that I have around, you know, kind of people from underrepresented kind of cultures being exposed to advertising and marketing, understanding there's a world here and they should know what's available, but also like the focus on work. We spend so much time here that if we could not be miserable at work, like if I could influence that in any small way through the office here and then the people I touch, it's really important. But that also means I'm happy in life, right? Because you can't compartmentalize that.
That's right. Yeah. And
right? If I'm miserable at home, if you are, then we're going to bring that to work.
Yeah. And I am quite certain if I walk through these halls and ask people how they feel about working here, I think I know the answer. And that's credit to you and you know, how hard you work, but at the same time, how full of life you are and how much it means to you to be alive and to be happy about what you do and that you care for your people and that, you know, they want to be here as a result of that. It's contagious. It's absolutely contagious.
I tell people, even clients, I'll say, I'm going to tell you, you need to understand this about who I am before we engage. You should just think about this. Here's the goal that I have. You think it's about copy and art? I'm going to tell you this. My goal is that when I leave this planet, whoever's going to meet me at the end looks at me and says 2 words: well done. With all of the exposure I had, with the children, with the resources, with the people who crossed my path, with every opportunity and disadvantage, well played, well done, Elena. And so that is what permeates every decision I make in business, every relationship I build, every relationship in business I do not pursue. Because ultimately, if I'm not going to that, so I'm not worried about the revenue at this point or even how people rank us on an award. My goal is so much bigger. I want to actually do well in general and overall. You know, it's nice. So much bigger. And when you do that, then it makes all the little decisions easy. You know, sometimes I'll meet people and I'll know you're actually not a good fit for us. And I make a joke like, oh, you know, I'll take your money. But it's like, no, I won't. Actually, I won't. It's a joke. That's a joke because I know what's a good fit for my value system and the people here. Right? So Andrew, tell me something. Well, you know, it helps me. It helps me because as you grow in business and grow financially and grow in influence, you're exposed to different opportunities. So it's good to have your head right. No, I'm going to ask you.
And you can sleep at night, right? That's
I really do.
Yeah.
And I could go to church on Sunday.
Yeah,
I'm not in the confession booth
yeah.
for 3 hours. So what's one thing that I didn't know enough to ask you about who you are?
Wow. I feel like we covered a lot of stuff.
We had fun. We had a shot.
Fun.
We learned about Sharc. We learned about you. What else?
What else? I mean, we talked about family. Friends, we didn't talk a whole lot about friends. I would say that I've been committed to my friends over the years, and that's really important to me. I have my high school, childhood friends, obviously John we talked about, but even my college friends, and then business friends. So I think it's really important for people to choose the right people to be with. Right? You end up becoming who you're sort of surrounded by, the connectivity. And I think that's really important. And that makes up a big part of who I am, is the people that I choose to spend the time with and learn from and be better as a result of. I'm motivated by, a certain group of friends that I have in business, a couple of different business groups.
Sure.
They're very important to me. I spend a lot of time. I've allocated a lot of time towards that. Same thing with my college friends. I mean, they're my best buddies that, we all, when it comes time with them, it's just, we're just having a blast, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of these on the table, and it's part of who we are, though. Would we do anything in the world for each other? Absolutely.
Sure.
If you needed to get serious, by all means, but you kind of know when you go into that group, you're just there to let it all down and just have a friggin' good time. And every one of us is, we all feel that way. And we take a golf trip every year, and we celebrate the holidays together, and we do incremental things throughout the year. But it means so much to me, and it really defines me too. It's that family, the friends.
You're a relationship guy.
Yeah, for sure.
That
I mean, at the end of the day, I like to think isn't that what this is all about?
Yes.
You can't take anything else with you. So even just this, getting to know you a little more, we're having this conversation. We know it's being taped, but I'm here with you and I'm really enjoying it. And we're getting to know each other more, and that's cool. And I feel like having that with the appropriate people is what your life is really all about.
Yes.
And I'm so happy I could do that with my parents. I do that with my family, my children,
wife, right?
So, it's not going to work for everybody. And so certain people through the years, some people come in and come out, but to be cognizant of that is important. And so I think, we didn't necessarily touch on that. So I figured that would be it. But I don't know. I'm almost too flattered to even say anymore. I don't know. It's just, I am who I am. I'm glad I'm able to do what I do. I'm glad that I chose a career that I'm happy about. I love that I spend the time, and I work from home too. I have an office in White Plains, but when my wife and I bought a house a few years ago, right before COVID, the month before COVID. Who the hell knew that was going to happen?
Yeah.
But when we did, I said to her, because there's a really nice room in the front of the house that's like an office.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I think I'm gonna work from home a little bit more. I'll stay here for a few days. Little did I know it would be 2 years.
Right.
But so anyway, having that time, and because that's the one thing that you could always make more money. You could always do one more thing, but you only have a certain amount of time.
Whatever you have.
So that time is it. So how you manage your time is really the most important thing,
and how you spend it, right?
And who you're going to spend it with,
right? It's funny. I think maybe because of the what people will see on social media or what I am interested in, I receive memes around work and culture a lot because that's a thing for me, right? And I saw this meme and it actually made me sad, and I know it was supposed to be funny, but I know sometimes when we do our analytics, we have an audience that can skew a little younger for some of our episodes. But so I'll say this. The meme came up and the meme said, "Oh, I know you said we're like a family at work." And then the second part said, "I'm just here for the paycheck." And I know it's a funny meme. And I was just like, oh, not because, listen, everybody has to do them, right, Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought you just lost an opportunity there.
Yeah.
Right. And I know it's a funny joke, and I know it's supposed to be funny, but you miss the whole point, right? You can make a decision, and if you don't make the connection that life is all relationships, that we should all be relationship people, because our looks, if we ever had them, will come and go, and a lot of things will come and go. But the relationships you build, most
powerful thing you can have.
They're everlasting.
Yeah. And it takes effort too. You can't just let it lie. You gotta work at it. But and both parties have to be part of that. If it's all you, not gonna work.
Right.
But if it's a mutually beneficial, and sometimes clearly some people put in more than others. It's just the way it goes. But it can't be too much of one, right?
And all the time.
It's enough, to have a certain amount of time and effort putting in. But it's relationships. It's the people you choose to be with, and for me that defines almost everything. It's whether it's home or work. It's those relationships that you cultivate.
I agree, and I can't tell you how thankful I am that you chose to spend some time with me today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, and thanks to your staff for staying on top of it and putting it together. And I feel like we're just scratching the surface too, and I feel like there's a lot more that we can do to help each other, and I look forward to cultivating that relationship.
I agree, absolutely. You're going to be recording some messages, and it's going to be like, you love working at Copy Art.
Yeah.
Copy Art's the best.
Great. I think I just heard Elena say she might want retail radio by Sharc. That's good. It's a good way to end it.
Andrew, thank you for being with us inside Copy Art.
Thank you so much.
This was so much fun.
I really
Maybe
appreciate
now
it.
he'll invite me to his radio show or podcast or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for being here.
Right. Yep.
And thank you for listening and for joining us on YouTube. Until next time, this is Inside Copy Art, the podcast.